The powerful forces that rule the otherworldly realm are the monstrous demons and the angelic figures known as divine spirits. For a long time, the demons and the divine spirits fought each other in an epic war. Unfortunately, the war ended with the demons' victory. A decade ago, demons invaded the realm of the human world. With their overwhelming power, humanity stood no chance against their army that emerged from the gates. It was around these times that the divine spirits appeared before select humans. They gave them the sacred stones. Those chosen with their power became known as hunters and were given the ability to fight off the demons. In the present, there is a forest 10 km outside of Tokyo. Hunters are in front of a magic gate that leads to an E-ranked dungeon. The party who are about to enter are ready for the danger inside. A distance away from the main team is the one who carries the supply with a heavy backpack. He is the black-haired and black-clothed Mako. He tells the others that he will have no problem carrying the stuff for his teammates. The others enter the gate while telling Mako to let them take care of the combat since he is only a wannabe hunter. Mako hates that he is being called a wannabe hunter, but is used to it. He explains to the viewers that the sacred stone appears attached to a person's hand. Then the divine spirit appears afterward to form a pact with the one who holds the stone. 2 years ago, a bright light enveloped Mako in his house. He felt excited to see a sacred stone appear on his hand since it meant he would become a hunter. He closed his fist with determination. He told himself that the tragedy that befell him before would never happen again. He remembered when the demons invaded Earth, and he went home to see his parents already dead. Because of it, the sacred stone became his ray of hope. One day Mako was in a park. There he practiced swinging his sword. He felt satisfied that he managed to do it 1,000 times. He then decided to run 20 kilometers. Passersby saw and recognized him. They recognized him as the wannabe hunter, something that hurt Mako. As he ran, they gossiped about how the divine spirit never appeared to him for 2 years after receiving the sacred stone, and how this meant that he was wasting the stone's power. Flash forward to a snowy day. Mako was slammed to a wall by one of the people in his hunter party. The man who did complained that he was nothing but a dead weight to their team. Mako told the man that he could fight, since he had been training with his weapon. However, the man told him that without a divine spirit, he was of no use to them. His words hurt, but Mako could not talk back. The team told him as they left to stop trying to be a hunter like them. Mako was left alone in the alley, feeling hopeless. He questioned why the divine spirit never appeared before him. He became an outcast among the hunters and ordinary people alike. Back in the present, Mako's current party are fighting demons in the dungeon. The leader, Hina, is using the power of flames given to him by his divine spirit, Flame. Mito uses arrows made of ice to fight demons, an ability given to her by her spirit Zero. Kamiya uses a lightning sword, given by his spirit Fall. With their teamwork, they easily defeated the demons. Hina sees that a demon is approaching Mako from behind. He warns him, but the demon is already charging towards the man. Mako puts his hand on the ground. He uses this to pivot away from the demon's strike, successfully dodging it. He pulls out his sword, telling himself that he can take it down. He charges towards the demon. He strikes, hitting the creature's forehead. However, it took no damage. It only becomes angrier as it tries to remove the weapon from its head. He realizes that nothing but an attack from a divine spirit can damage the demons. The demon tries to strike him again. Before it can, Hina uses his power to burn its body up. With the demon defeated, Hina asks Mako if he is okay. Mako tries to collect his bearings. Then he apologizes and thanks Hina. The leader approaches him. He comforts Mako by telling him that his movements to avoid the creature were impressive. The young man is not used to such praise. He told the leader that he had been training so that he would be ready when the divine spirit is ready to make a pact. Hina told him that he hoped that the day would come soon. Mako feels comforted. He tells the leader that he appreciates his words. Mako gets back up to continue the journey. He does not realize the subtle, mischievous smiles his teammates are wearing. After a while, the team has reached the deepest part of the dungeon, where the gate to the boss lies. Hina touches the gate to inspect it. He reminds Mako of how demons behave, that there are many varieties of them and most of them have unique routines. Mako asks if he plans to exploit the boss's routine to defeat it. Hina raises his hand and tells him he is correct. Kamiya suddenly grabs Mako from behind while Mito points an ice arrow at him. The young man looks on at his teammate's betrayal of him. As Hina opens the gate, he explains that some demons fall asleep after eating. They then push Mako inside. They laugh at him and call him food. Mako pleads for them not to do this. As the gate closes, Hina tells Mako that this is what he gets for being unable to make a pact with a divine spirit. Mako has no choice but to listen. The gate closes, so the man bangs on the gate while begging his teammates to open it. He blames himself for not predicting that he would be betrayed. He then feels that something is behind him. He looks back. He sees the giant beast known as Behemoth in front of him, and he looks like an ant before it. He shivers at the sight of the giant. Behemoth tries to hit its claws on him, and he barely dodges it. Meanwhile, the party outside the gate are playing cards while they wait. The monster boss destroys a rocky chunk of its lair trying to get to Mako. Behemoth stalks its prey. He sees the man is running away. Mako tries to have hope he can survive by telling himself that the beast has not fully awakened yet, that it is the window he needs to escape. Mako sees light in the distance. His feet are ready to go there. The behemoth suddenly roars with the force of an earthquake. The rocks from the cave roof fall. It is enough to block Mako's exit. He looks at the blockage and mourns. Right behind him, the monster is already charging at him. It is about to trample him. Yet despite this, Mako tells himself he will survive. Yet Behemoth's teeth near his body. He tells himself that there is so much more he needs to do. He remembers the death of his parents. He mourns not avenging their deaths. He shouts that there is no way he will die, and at the same time, the sacred stone in his hand glows. His body gets enveloped with dark energy. He does not understand, yet it keeps enveloping him. It forms a black force field around him, protecting him from Behemoth's charge. The monster is shocked. Within the field, Mako is in a dark void. He looks at his sacred stone and sees that it is glowing with such an evil aura. Suddenly, black feathers fall onto his hand. His eyes widen. He then sees that a woman with black angelic wings is flying down in front of him. Mako does not know how to react. The woman reaches out her hand to him. She asks that they form a pact. The force field continues to be active and Behemoth waits for it to disappear. Meanwhile, inside, the winged woman continues to offer a pact to Mako. He is confused about what is happening. She tells him to hurry up since the void she formed will not last long. Again, she asks if he wants to form a pact with her, or if he refuses. It dawns on Mako that he is looking at his divine spirit. Knowing this, he wants nothing more than to have a pact with her. He holds out his hand and agrees to take the pact. Their hands connect. She declares that their pact is now binding. The girl starts to get absorbed by the sacred stone. He looks at dark energy entering his stone. Mako feels the power surging inside him. The force field drops. He faces Behemoth with a sword. He announces that their teamwork begins. The monster roars again. Mako comments that the pressure feels stronger than before. The creature dashes toward him. He readies a jump. He declares he is not the person he was a moment ago. He manages to dodge the creature's destructive paws. He lands a distance away from the monster. Mako is amazed at himself for what he just did. He tightens his grip on his sword. He makes a battle stance and declares that it is his turn to attack. He then gets an epiphany. He remembers Kamiya using his spirit's lightning ability on a demon. He realizes he needs the power of his divine spirit to defeat the boss demon. He panics as the behemoth is about to attack him again, while he still does not know how to activate his power. He starts to move his feet. He runs away from Behemoth's strikes while he calls his spirit's name and asks her what her power is. He hears the sound of the woman's voice inside his head. He is confused about what is happening. The girl then says she forgot to mention his power, causing the guy to tell her to pull herself together. She replies that he did not ask, frustrating the running man. Behemoth nears Mako. The demon strikes, causing destruction on the ground. Mako manages to jump far away before it hits him. He asks his spirit if the shadow-like aura earlier was her power. She replies that he's correct. Mako concentrates and gathers dark energy. She praises him for catching on quickly. She calls her power Rebellion Shadow. She elaborates that it is the ability to manipulate shadows. Mako keeps looking at his hands. He tells himself to focus. Then he closes his eyes. The shadow in the palm of his hand is slowly forming into something. It transforms into a sword made of shadows before his very eyes. The spirit calls it Shadow Weapon. She explains that Shadow Weapon is the ability to turn shadow into a weapon. The man smirks. He believes his new weapon is more than enough. Even in front of Behemoth, Mako shouts that he can fight now. He taunts the beast. He tells him that he won't leave any more openings for him to attack. Behemoth moves its tail. It uses it as a whip that almost hits the man. Mako readies a slashing stance. He swings his blade. He manages to cut off a part of the monster's tail. The sliced-off tail is so big that the cave shakes the moment it hits the ground. Mako stops his stance. The demon is enraged. Its eyes are bright red in anger. Mako readies another sword stance and declares that he will be the hunter now. He dashes towards the monster with lightning speed. The shadow blade nears Behemoth's face. However, the monster dodges at the last second. Mako realizes it has figured out his movements. Despite this, he moves forward. He jumps high, anticipating slicing the demon while he drops. Behemoth moves its paws. It evades his attack by stepping backward. Mako is about to swing his sword again. As he slashes, his blade extends. It becomes so long that he manages to cut Behemoth's front legs off. The beast howls from the pain. It drops to the ground. Mako declares that he has figured out that the shadow can change shape freely. He looks at the helpless beast struggling to get up. He jumps. High above Behemoth is Makot with his sword about to drop on the beast. He remembers people telling him that he was wasting his sacred stone. When he was training with a sword, Mako heard people telling him he was useless. When he was jogging, he heard people telling him he was training for nothing. He declares that it was never pointless. In the present, Mako is about to drop on Behemoth. As he shapes his sword into a giant weapon, he tells himself that he was sharpening his fangs, that this is the moment to unleash it. The blade penetrates the beast. The slice is so powerful that it cuts Behemoth in two. Mako's blade slowly disappears. The moment silences him. The shadow aura completely dissipates. His hands are trembling. He has a huge grin on his face while his hands grip hard. He praises himself for finally defeating a demon. After all the excitement, he falls to the ground to rest. He looks at the stone on his hand. He asks that he and his spirit talk. The woman tells him to give her a moment. Shadow aura spews out of the stone. It transforms into the woman with black wings. Mako thanks her for saving him. She replies that he was the one who did all the hard work. He bows and says that he is so grateful she made a pact with him. The girl just looks at him. Mako tells her that her power of shadow is amazing. He believes her to be a high-ranking divine spirit. The girl tells him that she is not, that she is no divine spirit. She tells him that she is a demon. Mako gets shocked into silence. Demons have destroyed many divine spirits and pushed humanity to the brink of ruin. Therefore, humans and divine spirits formed a pact, and together, they became hunters who fought demons. Back in the present, Mako confronts the woman with her claim that she is not a divine spirit, but a demon. She looks uncomfortable admitting who she really is. The man was to know more. Their talk gets interrupted as the gate is opened. The party that left Mako inside enters and is surprised to see him still alive. Mako instantly becomes angry at their presence. The three hunters are confused as to what has happened. Hina looks at the winged woman behind Mako and realizes that the man formed a pact. The three hunters do not know what to do now. Hina reminds Mito and Kamiya that they would be in trouble if Mako reports that they trapped him in the dungeon boss's domain. They activate their divine powers simultaneously, knowing they need to kill him before they get reported. Mako knows he is in trouble. He faces the mysterious woman and asks her name. She is baffled. He still wants to know. She starts saying her name with hesitation. She tells him that her name is Reno. Mako rematerializes his shadow sword and asks Reno to lend her power to him again. The woman is shocked he still wants her. Meanwhile, the three hunters, who are all pointing their dangerous divine powers at him, are telling themselves they can take Mako since he has only recently awakened his own power. Suddenly, Flam, Hina's spirit, tells the humans to stop. Hina asks what's wrong. The fire spirit can tell from seeing the mystery woman that she is more powerful than they can comprehend. Even the spirits of the other two appear to warn their human companions how powerful their enemy is. Flam tells Hina that they do not know who the mystery woman is. However, he recognizes the strength of a top-class divine spirit from her. The trio all gasps at the news. Mako looks at Reno and wonders if it is true. He explains to the readers that the rankings of divine spirits are divided into categories, and that only very few have ever reached the strongest top class. He asks Reno who she really is. The woman reminds him that they have no time for explanations with their enemies in front of them. Hina moves forward. His firepower is still activated as he denies such a weakling like Mako is stronger than him. Mito and Kamiya do not share his confidence and are hesitant to attack. As Hina calls his companions cowards, he dashes towards Mako. He is inches away from punching Mako with his flaming fist as he declares he will show everyone what true power really looks like. Despite the declaration, Mako is not batting an eye. He dodges the punch with little effort. Hina is not deterred. He follows up with more punches, only for Mako to dodge each one. Hina's hand is still near Mako's face as he activates a spark of flame. He instantly makes the flame bigger to burn him. There is a sudden slash of a blade. It turns out, Mako cancels out the flame with his sword. Hina and his companions can't believe it. Mako mocks Hina by sarcastically asking if he is holding back. His taunt only makes the prideful hunter angry. Hina tells him not to be cocky since he is just a mere weakling, who got lucky enough to form a pact with a strong divine spirit. Mako is insulted. He tells Hina that he was able to form a pact much faster than him, while he never gave up. He shouts out that he would never call his journey to form a pact luck. Hina is getting even more angry. The fire surrounding him grows more intense as he declares he will finish Mako off. He tells his companions to join in the fight or else Mako will report them. Mito and Kamiya also power up, feeling like they have no choice. Hina concentrates a fireball in the palm of his hand. It turns out, All three are gathering energy for their simultaneous finishing moves. Their energy attacks all charge towards Mako in unison. Their attacks are inches from the man's body. The attacks explode in Mako's direction, enveloping him in destruction. The three are smiling and laughing at the sight. As the smoke slowly clears, there is a hint of Mako's silhouette. He is revealed to be alive and unharmed. Hina and the others look shocked. Mako tells them that he cut through all of their attacks and taunts them that the bossy's attacks were faster than theirs. He steps forward near his opponents. Mako looks so powerful as he walks towards them. Now, Hina is scared. However, he still ignites another flame in his palm. He throws a succession of fireballs while shouting that Mako is just a weak and pathetic wannabe hunter. Mako readies himself for the coming flames. He cuts through all of them on his way towards Hina. Hina looks at him. Both enemies eye each other. Hina asks what he really is. Mako makes his shadow weapon disappear. He instead uses his fist. He punches Hina right in the stomach. The impact makes the man fly. Mako answers that he is a hunter. Hina's body lands near the scared Mito and Kamiya. Looking closely, he is shivering while out cold. Mako tells the other two to take their leader and leave. With threatening eyes, he tells them to not speak a word of him to anyone. Mito and Kamiya are panicking as they try to pick up Hina. They carry their leader and leave in a hurry. Mako's sacred stone glows. Reno comes out of the stone and praises Mako for being lenient with his enemies. He thanks the Dark Angel for fighting alongside him. Reno smiles at him. Mako wants to continue their conversation. He asks her how she is not a divine spirit but a demon. Reno grips a fist in her reluctance to answer. The woman slowly begins to speak. Reno explains that she was once a divine spirit of the angel race. However, because of a certain incident, she turned into a demon. Mako absorbs this new information. He knows that angels are a high-ranking race among the divine spirits, but he has never heard of one becoming a demon. She adds that she was able to make a pact with him because she was a former divine spirit, though she remains unaware of why her sacred stone was given to him. Things are now clearer to Mako, while Reno adds that she can't hide that she is a demon, so if he wishes to revoke their pact, it would be alright. She holds her shoulder in shame while she says this, and the hunter notices that she is trembling a bit. Mako smiles reassuringly, and then gets down on his knees. He then tells her his name and that he is 18 years old. Mako is a bit perplexed as to why the young hunter is suddenly introducing himself. Mako, however, sees that the demon is a good person, so he has decided not to cancel their pact. Reno is touched as he says he will be counting on her from now on. She doesn't know what to say at first, but then smiles as well and states that she is fine with this arrangement too. Mako is pleased to hear this. He gets back on his feet, and the two of them head for the exit together. Elsewhere, two demons are observing Reno and Mako using magic. One is a two-horned demon with a mischievous expression who states that the fallen angel betrayed them just as he predicted. The other demon, who is wearing more sophisticated clothing, states that he is busy reading a book and is uninterested in Reno. He says whether she betrays them or not has no bearing on their plans. The other demon flashes an evil smile and says she could at least provide them with some entertainment. Back in the city, there are rows of apartment buildings. Mako's address is 303, and he leads his new companion inside. His apartment is very bare with just a single bed and table along with some unopened boxes in the corner. He pleasantly tells Reno to make herself comfortable. The angel, however, is a bit stunned as she takes in his shabby dwelling place. She wonders if this is really a place where a human would live, saying it is not much different from the caves in the demon world. Mako sees she has a point about his home and asks her if there is anything she would like. He emphasizes that it can be anything. She thinks for a moment and wistfully says she wants beautiful scenery. Mako understands what she wants and says they could try adding some flowers as they might look nice. The angel likes the idea. Mako is super pleased to hear this and says they will buy flowers every time they clear a dungeon. However, he is exhausted already and needs to go to bed. Reno inspects his tiny bed and then lies down on it, commenting that it is a bit cramped for two people to sleep in. Mako is stunned to hear that she plans on sleeping with him, but she states that in heaven, this was a normal act. He then asks if divine spirits can even sleep outside their sacred stones. She figures she can't, so he suggests she return inside, which she does while wishing him good night. He looks at the gem for a moment before turning off the light and lying down while wondering what he will do next. He might get in trouble if people find out he made a pact with a demon, which means he will have to take on dungeons by himself. The only ones he can clear solo are F rank, which is where he will start. The next morning, he heads to the Japan Hunter Association headquarters. He asks Reno if she is okay since he has covered his gem with a black glove, and she replies that she agrees with his decision. He did this since a purple sacred stone would really stand out. He heads to the reception desk and applies to take on the F-rank dungeon. Suddenly, loud screams pierce the air. Everyone's attention turns to a charismatic figure who had just entered the building. The crowd murmurs that it is rare for him to make an appearance and that he is way too handsome. He is an S-rank hunter Yugo. He is holding a bottle of alcohol and drinks freely in front of the crowd. Everyone tries to get his attention and snaps photos. Yugo is used to this and notes that not much has changed. He then spots Mako in the background and his eyes widen in surprise. The F-rank hunter also recognizes the S-rank hero and then wonders if they just made eye contact. Yugo looks pleased and walks straight to Mako, making their big height differential more noticeable. He asks the young man for his name and rank. Mako can't believe that the famous hunter is actually talking to him. Yugo assures him, as it has been a while since he has spoken to someone who was not a girl. Mako then says his name and rank. The famous hunter's face is hard to read after he hears this information, and there is a bit of an awkward silence. Mako asks if Yugo needs anything. The S-rank hunter then lets out a big smile and says no. He apologizes for interrupting, says they should get tea sometime, then heads off, leaving Mako puzzled as to what that was all about. The receptionist, meanwhile, is starstruck and can barely compose herself since the celebrity hunter actually said something to her. Mako reminds her about his request, and she gets on it. He is still wondering about that earlier interaction when she hands him the tablet with coordinates to the gate. He takes it, then heads for the exit excited since this will be his first time taking on a dungeon alone. Later, he arrives in the woods and spots a big shiny gate. He confirms that this is the one he was assigned to and then heads inside the dungeon. Inside it looks like a wide cave, which he notes has a really heavy atmosphere. Reno emerges from the stone and asks if it is true that F-rank demons are considered the weakest. He says yeah as they walk deeper inside, then asks if she is sensing something. Suddenly, a monster appears, moving swiftly. Mako notices it and turns his head instinctively, summoning his shadow sword. He is able to place it between himself and the monster, thus allowing it to absorb the brunt of the impact, which is so strong he is sent flying backward. The smoke clears, and we see him kneeling but relatively unharmed. He wonders what monster that was, as it was so fast. They step in front of him, and he sees that he is facing numerous Chaos Wolves. Mako is surprised as those are D-rank monsters, while Reno notes that something is wrong. He looks at the wolves and realizes that this is a D-rank dungeon. Mako and Reno find themselves surrounded by 3 feral Chaos Wolves. He takes a quick glance behind him and sees that the gate is gone, meaning they can't run away. They are aware that in his current state, beating these enemies will be tough. Mako tries to calm himself down and focus on reducing their numbers. He charges at a nearby wolf, ready to slash it with his shadow sword. Suddenly, he senses a wolf paw approaching him from the side and has to stop his attack and move back to avoid the sharp claws. He has barely caught his breath when he realizes another wolf is about to strike him from behind. He is able to barely avoid it and then finds himself in the middle, surrounded once again. He sees that their coordination is top-notch and tries to think of a way through. Dust and debris fill the air as the battle rages on. A Chaos Wolf opens its wide mouth and moves to take a bite out of the hunter. Mako blocks it with his shadow sword but is desperately on the defensive. Another wolf moves towards him at full speed, and all he can do is protect himself with his arms. The impact sends Mako crashing into the wall. Aside from being coordinated, each one is really strong, and they all attack the instant they see an opening. He wonders if there is nothing he can do while inside the stone. Reno says she is thinking of something. The wolves move closer, their blood-red eyes sensing blood. Mako has an idea but wonders if it is too risky. He dematerializes his shadow sword, leaving himself defenseless. Reno is surprised, as this means the wolves won't hesitate. Sure enough, all 3 monsters pounce on him immediately as Reno looks on with concern. At the last moment, he summons his shadow weapon once more and makes a wide slash, striking one of the wolves right in the mouth. He maintains his swing and is able to also deliver critical strikes to the 2 other monsters, turning them all into dust. Mako is relieved that he was able to pull it off, while Reno is impressed at his strategy of deliberately creating an opening to lure them all in. Mako sits down to take a breath while his fallen angel wonders what is happening, as they are clearly not at the bottom level. He has no idea but seems sure that they are in a D-rank dungeon. Now that they have entered the gate, the only way out is to defeat the boss. They then hear a sound from the distance. Multiple more Chaos Wolves are coming toward them. Mako is in disbelief, but Reno tells him not to worry, as there is something different now. She instructs him to raise one hand forward, imagine shadow chains, and then aim at the target. He does what she asks, and then long shadow chains spring forth from his hand and bind the nearest Chaos Wolf. he sees that he has gained a new ability called Shadow Bind, allowing him to tie up an enemy. He swiftly moves his hand backward, pulling the wolf towards him and right into his shadow sword, thus getting slashed in half. Mako allows himself a smile. Another wolf jumps towards him, but he again uses Shadow Bind to chain the wolf while it is still in the air. He gets an idea and holds the end of the chain with both hands. He then swings the chain around and around like a wrecking ball, using the bound wolf to strike all the other monsters around him. He is pleased with the options this new ability provides as he binds yet another wolf, then moves in and slashes it without difficulty. Reno states that he is really good at using it, but that the ability uses a lot of magic, so he should be careful. This will now allow him to move forward as the battle is soon over. He faced an even higher number of Chaos Wolves but was able to take them out easily. Reno says hunters grow stronger the more demons they defeat. Mako has a satisfied expression as he realizes he is really getting stronger. He takes a breath and moves forward deeper into the dungeon. Reno sees that her partner grew quickly because he hadn't fought enough demons before, but his physical abilities were already well trained. In addition to his fine mental skills, she sees that his potential is limitless and is excited to see him grow. They soon reach the deepest part of the dungeon, where the door to the boss room is. Mako stands in front of it for a while, seemingly deep in thought. Reno comes out and asks him what is wrong. He says it is a hunter's duty to clear dungeons and that only a hunter can open the door to the boss. Right now, he is feeling a mix of fear and excitement. Now he has the opportunity to prove himself as a real hunter. Reno stops his reminiscing and says that they are just getting started. Mako clenches his fist in agreement as he reiterates that he will become a hunter who can save the world. He places his hand on the handle and the door opens, causing a whoosh of wind and dark aura to come spilling out. The young hunter steps inside, and the door closes behind him. He looks forward with a mix of determination and trepidation. There is a big tail moving about as Mako finds himself face to face with a D-rank boss Hell Scorpion. The Hell Scorpion is an imposing boss with 6 eyes on its thorax, razor-sharp teeth, and a deadly tail and pincers. Mako notes that its outer shell looks really tough and is more like a mineral than a metal. Reno notices that the young hunter is shaking and asks if he is scared. He says he is fine and that he simply has a few jitters. The scorpion moves first, attempting to strike him from above with its pincer. It hits the ground with force as Mako is able to move out of the way. He sees that if he takes the monster head-on, he has no chance. The scorpion attacks again, and he is just barely able to block it with his shadow sword. He then leaps into the air and delivers multiple strikes all over the scorpion's body. However, none are able to penetrate the tough carapace. He lands behind the monster and decides to dodge the incoming attacks while searching for a weak spot. No matter how tough the armor is, the joints or base should be weaker. Reno observes the battle silently as he continues to slash all over the enemy's body, searching for that weak link. Mako goes for an attack from above and thrusts his shadow sword downward right on the scorpion's head. Despite using his full force, the sword is still unable to penetrate the hard shell. He sees that he has not even made a scratch as the scorpion roars in anger. Crystal shards appear in its tail, which it fires at the young hunter. He blocks some of them and is scratched by others as he notes that it even has ranged attacks. He wonders what he can do and asks Reno if she has any ideas. She replies that it is hard for him to damage it as he is now. He sees that he will need to surpass himself as the scorpion turns around and moves towards him rapidly. He casts Shadow Bind and wraps the chains around 2 of the scorpion's legs, causing it to lose its balance and fall down. The monster quickly regroups while Mako realizes that he would have been done for if he got hit. As the scorpion gets back on its feet, Mako notices something crucial. There is a crack on the monster's head. The young hunter realizes that it's not slashing but blunt force attacks that are the key. The scorpion now looks enraged and attempts to attack with its pincer. Mako steps back to avoid the slash, and he notes that the monster's attacks are getting fiercer. Reno advises him to change the size of his sword since slashing has proven ineffective. She reminds him of the first time he used the shadow weapon. The memories flash through his mind and he sees that she is correct. The scorpion moves forward to strike once more, and Mako leaps high in the air to get out of its way. Reno looks a bit concerned as he won't be able to dodge that same attack in midair. The scorpion fires projectiles at him, but he is prepared for that and casts a shadow bind from above. He grabs the chain tightly and pulls himself towards the dungeon boss. He summons a shadow weapon, but this time is a giant hammer, which he smashes with maximum force right on the scorpion's head. Mako takes a step back and sees that it was enough to kill the beast whose head has been bashed in. He holds his shadow hammer with pride as he realizes he can create more than just swords. He thanks his fallen angel for her hint, but says she could just have told him directly. Rina replies that it is important for him to figure things out for himself. He sees her point as they both stand in front of the monster's corpse. Rino adds that unexpected things help him grow, though Mako simply chuckles, hoping the next battle won't be as tense. The next day back in the Japan Hunter Association headquarters, the receptionist is extremely apologetic for mistakenly sending him to a higher-level dungeon. Mako smiles and says it is fine since he grew a lot. She is grateful to hear that and then shows him his reward, which will be transferred to his account. Mako looks at the check, which says he earned 1.5 million yen. He is surprised it is that high, but the receptionist explains it is because he cleared a D-rank dungeon. She then bows and says she hopes he comes back. She ends the sentence by addressing him as Mr. Hunter, which fills him with pride as he is now truly living his dream. He heads outside the building and then joyfully tells Rino they can buy some flowers as they agreed. He is thinking of buying a bouquet when a green-haired girl walks by him. He seems to recognize her and turns around. She is looking at him too and remembers his name. He realizes she is Kea, an old friend. She sees that her hunch is correct, then smiles at him and asks how he has been. He replies that he has finally made a contract with a divine spirit and is working hard, which shocks her. She then says he has been working hard for so long that people in the street stop and recognize her, as she is the hunter who became a B rank in record time. Rino seems a bit jealous as she asks who he is talking to. He explains that she is actually his childhood friend and a hunter with a lot of potential. In addition, she hates demons more than any other hunter in the world. We see flashback images of Mako and Kea from childhood to their teenage years. They were always super close until one fateful day when Kea faced a demon. Kea and her brother are running for their lives when the young man stops and turns to face the enemy. He screams at his sister to keep running as he stands face to face with the demon that is more than twice his size. She refuses to leave him behind, but he tells her that at least one of them should survive. He desperately tries to fight but is no match and is killed right in front of his sister, who is traumatized by the event. Then around 2 years ago, Kea and Mako obtained their sacred stones. He apologizes to her since his divine spirit still hasn't appeared. Thus, he won't be able to fulfill his promise to fight alongside her. She understands but replies with a serious expression that she can't afford to stop and leaves him behind. Back in the present, Mako and Kea are having dessert in a restaurant and catching up. She is impressed to hear that he beat a D-rank dungeon all on his own and comments that he really lives up to the name Mako. She then asks what kind of divine spirit he made a pact with, which immediately makes him nervous. The young hunter hesitates for a bit as he wonders how to answer. Rino doesn't look pleased as she says she can appear anytime, but then his friend will see that she is a demon. He then tries to buy time, saying his divine spirit is a bit shy, so introducing it will be difficult. Rino looks annoyed as she says she is not shy, but he explains to her that the situation is complicated. Kea then decides to introduce her divine spirit first. She raises her hand with its green sacred stone, and the upper-ranked divine wind spirit named Wave appears. He looks like a fancy servant and bows politely towards Mako. He also has a refined manner of speaking as he greets Kea's friend. She then asks if he is going to take the rank reassessment, but he replies that it is still some time away. So she suggests he gets stronger in the meantime and invites him to take on a C-rank dungeon with her. Mako looks worried and replies that the gap between them is too big, so he might end up being a burden. Kea smiles, remembering how he used to lead her when they were kids, so now it is her chance to return the favor. She stretches out her hand as a gesture of invitation. Mako is unable to turn this down and shakes her hand, saying they did promise to fight together. Despite the risks, it is also a good opportunity for him to grow. Kea, meanwhile, is beaming with delight that the two of them will finally get to go together. Later that evening, in a conference room at the Japan Hunter Association headquarters, some important-looking people are holding a meeting. The head of the table tells them to get to the main topic, which is the Majin. These are powerful beings who are A rank or higher and who possess humanoid intelligence. For years they have been keeping a low profile, but recently at least a dozen hunters have fallen victim to them. Kamu, the president of the Japan Hunter Association, remembers his battles against the Majin and recalls that their strength was truly exceptional. He lets out a loud laugh as he adds that he would fight them himself if he were still in his prime. Ms. Tim, the section chief, is not amused and states that her management system shows all gates being cleared properly. We see Yugo walking in as someone comments that according to survivors, the Majin appeared after the gates were cleared. He is still holding a bottle of alcohol and is surprised that the meeting has already started. Ms. Tim is mad that he has arrived so late, but he remains unperturbed and answers that getting angry will only ruin her beautiful face. He sees the hunters who have died on the screen, and then says he may have an idea of what to do. Ms. Tim is doubtful, but he assures her that he will handle it. Kamu is on the Trust's Yugo and says he is counting on the S-rank hunter, who then departs the meeting. As he walks away from the conference room, he remembers Mako's face and wonders if his prediction will be correct. Elsewhere, in an abandoned, run-down area, a purple gate appears. Keiya asks Mako if he is nervous, and he admits that he is. Aside from dealing with a higher-level dungeon, he is still thinking about what her reaction will be when she finds out Reno is a demon. Keiya then assures him that she will protect him no matter what, which comforts him. We then see the dungeon, which is a cave with a bluish hue. The two friends enter the gate and are immediately greeted by C-rank demons. Mako summons his shadow sword and is about to assess the situation but is surprised when Keiya simply attacks without hesitation. She is lightning fast and instantly beheads one of the demons with her spear. Mako is surprised to see the intensity of her emotions and her determination to eradicate all demons. Her power definitely exceeded his expectation. She turns towards him and says she also senses a demonic presence coming from that direction. She wonders if it is him as he realizes that she has found out his secret. She stabs a demon in the air with her spear, going right through its body. She then gracefully spins, slashing two demons clean. She turns to handle the others while Mako looks on even more impressed than before. Still, he wants to be useful and summons his weapon to handle the monsters on the ground. He parries a demon attack and then counters with a slash. The demons now look at him with fear as they see how strong he is. He has also grown and turned his shadow sword into a shadow gun and shoots. The shadow projectiles are so powerful that half or more of the bodies of the demons disintegrate on impact. Keiya is surprised as she has never seen this type of ability before. Soon the battle is over, and Keiya lands back on the ground. She praises Mako for holding his own even against Z-rank demons. She then says she sensed a demonic presence once again coming from him, but now there is nothing, so it's probably fine. The young hunter is pleased that he hasn't been caught yet, but then Reno asks if he just plans to keep up the charade forever. He remembers that his divine spirit isn't just some demon. She is his reliable partner. He looks at her and thinks it would be fine if he could just explain, but then he remembers her hatred for demons and is once again unsure of what to do. They keep moving forward and finally reach the door to the boss's room. She asks if he is focused and he replies yes, but deep down he can't calm down. Keiya senses his apprehension and says she understands, as he will be facing a C-rank boss. She then assures him, saying he is not alone, so he should not hesitate to go all out. Mako smiles and decides to save the conversation for later and first focus on beating the boss. He thanks her as they fist bump, and then enter the boss's room. They are met by the C-rank dungeon boss Cyclops, which is about 3 times their size. Mako is awed by its overwhelming presence, while Kazan instantly springs into action, determined to kill all demons no matter how powerful they are. She once again casts Wind Spirit Mantle and flies right at the huge demon. The Cyclops raises its large wooden club to strike her, but Mako casts Shadow Bind, which prevents it from lowering its weapon. This allows Keiya to deliver a direct hit right at the monster's midsection. It grits its teeth in anger and then screams in anger and breaks the shadow bind as Keiya moves back. The two look at each other and seem to understand what to do and how to work together without exchanging any words. They both jump at the monster, attacking it in sync from both sides. The monster screams in pain as Mako looks happy at their perfect timing. They both move in again, delivering another perfectly synchronized attack that the Cyclops is unable to defend. Keiya is happy that they are both thinking the same things, changing positions and disrupting. She moves in again and slashes the demon's chest. It raises its club, but Mako once again casts Shadow Bind from behind the monster, not allowing it a chance to counterattack. The boss has been significantly weakened, so the binding ability is now easier as he cheers for Keiya to presently use the opening to finish the fight. She thanks him and then casts another ability, Wind Shower, which rains down green magic on the monster, ending the fight. Mako finds amazing as he then sees her running at him with a huge smile on her face. She calls out his name with a joy that makes her look even more beautiful, causing him to blush. They give each other a high five and celebrate how well they fought together. Still, he knows he must not be satisfied and should continue to grow. Wave comes out of her stone and compliments their awesome teamwork. She replies that it is because they have known each other for years and says that as a team they can go anywhere. Mako though lets out a gulp and knows he cannot hide his secret any longer. He says there is something he needs to tell her. He starts to remove the glove from his hand, but before he can finish, they both suddenly sense a new dangerous presence. They look to the side and see a flash of energy striking the ground like lightning. A demon emerges as the two hunters look on with concern. We then see that it is the two-horned demon who was watching when Reno became Mako's divine spirit. He says he has finally found you while looking at them with evil intentions. The demon looks threatening as he walks towards the two. Mako can feel a malevolence and intimidation coming from him that leads away from any demon he ever encountered. Aside from that, he is intrigued that he is seeing a humanoid demon. Kaya blocks Mako from moving. She goes in front of the man to protect him while she asks if the enemy is a Majin. The demon is impressed by her knowledge and tells her that he is indeed the Majin named Grom. Ryuka confirms that the rumors about the Majin are true. She switches her wind power on and tells Mako to run while she fights him. Mako does not like her plan and pleads that they escape together. Kei gathers wind in his hand. She shoots a laser-like beam of wind toward the enemy. Grom dodges the attack effortlessly. The Majin taunts that she is moving in slow motion from his perspective. His taunt makes Kei's teeth grind. Mako watches the two trading blows and recognizes that they are on a different level from him. He grips his fist in frustration that he can't do anything. Meanwhile, Grom has just grabbed Kei's spear while it was coming at him. It stops the girl in her tracks. He then throws Kei away. He sees that she has not given up. Kei is flying in the air. Wave advises Kei to use her secret technique. She forms a hand gesture to get ready. She calls her finisher milestone. Multiple tornadoes come out of her palm, all of which connect with the demon. Mako is at the side, trying to get away from the pressure of the wind while he watches. Kei hears laughter. The demon steps out from the destructive explosion unharmed. He tells the girl that it was just a gentle breeze for him. It makes the woman determined to finish him off. He declares that she will kill every last demon while she dashes toward Grom. He finds her comment funny and ironic. Kei asks what he finds so funny. Grom points at Mako and reveals that he has made a pact with a demon. Mako feels exposed. Kei tells the Majin that he is lying. She shouts that there is no way her friend would ever make a pact with a demon, nor will he ever keep it a secret from her if he would. Mako stays silent with a gripped fist. Kei sees her being so silent. She demands that he deny it. However, he can't even look at her. He tells himself he must come clean. He confirms that what Grom said is true. He summons Reno out to reveal her. Kei is stunned. She can't believe a demon just emerged from the sacred stone. Mako tries to introduce Reno to her. Kei tightens her grip on her spear. She yells at him for making a pact with a demon. She tells him that she can never trust him again. Mako pleads with her to talk. Kei does not listen. She simply charges towards the Majin. Grom grabs her throat midair. He tightens his grip, strangling the girl. He then readies to strike her with his other arm. Shadow chains appear. Mako binds Grom's arm before she can strike Kei. He tells the Majin to stop. Grom shatters his chain and smiles that he has finally entered the picture. He throws Kei away. Mako catches her before she hits the ground. He says sorry to the unconscious girl. Grom points at Reno and tells her that she is all that he is interested in. Mako asks Reno if they know each other. She explains that the Majin tried to recruit her into their forces when she became a fallen angel, but that she escaped them instead. Mako understands what the Majin is truly capable of. Ryo tells Grom that demons are his enemies and that she will never join them. The Majin laughs. He questions her motives when she can have revenge on the divine spirits that abandoned her if she came to their side. Reno tells him that she has no interest in revenge. The Majin wants her to accept that she is a demon and offers her the chance to kill as many divine spirits and humans alike by their side. Reno yells at him to stop. A hurt builds within her. Tears came out of her eyes. Mako stands up for his fallen angel and tells Grom that she is different from them. The Majin is confused about what he means. Mako explains that demon is a term for those who hurt others without reason. He declares that Reno is too kind to be a demon, and that she is his partner. Reno is touched by his words. Grom only hears the ravings of a pathetic weakling. He wants to crush him for his words of sentimentality and camaraderie. Mako and Reno get ready to fight him together. Grom winds up his arms to get ready for battle. Reno advises Mako to exploit the enemy's overconfidence and complacency to create an opening to escape. Grom is ready for whatever he throws at him. The Majin begins to dash. He looks intimidating as he draws near the duo. Mako goes into a blocking position. However, the demon is already behind him in a flash. He kicks Mako, sending him flying. The man gets slammed into a rock wall. Grom nears him while he recovers. Mako uses Shadow Bind. The chains grab onto the demon's limbs. Mako then uses his free arm to materialize a gun. Grom shatters his chains. He then touches the bullet coming at him. He grabs every bullet coming. He then opens his hand to drop them all. The Majin asks if he has any tricks left. Mako is frustrated that he is being completely toyed with. Kei is waking up, and she can vaguely see the two battling. She consciously slowly rises. It dawns on her the seriousness of what is happening. She can see that Mako, with his demon, is hard at work trying to keep Grom at bay. He then sees Grom punching Mako. She screams out of worry. She sees that Mako and Reno are still standing their ground. She sees that Reno fully supports Mako. She realizes that he and his demon are bonded and keeps questioning why Mako made a pact with her. Her eyes were saddened at the thought that she couldn't trust Mako any longer. Grom kicks Mako. He then makes the kick faster. He laughs at how much his enemy is struggling. Yet Mako still stands his ground. He takes a short break to breathe. He says he knows that he is weaker than him. He tightens his grip on his shadow sword. Dark energy comes out of him while he declares that he will never give up. Kea is touched by his declaration. He remembers the week after his brother died. There was a house. In a room in the house was Kea, who refused to go out of her dark and easy room, only for Mako to visit her. Mako tells her that her mom has been worried about her since she has not eaten for days. The lifeless Kea is barely looking at him. She admits that she has lost her will to live. Mako gets sad for her. He comforts her, telling her not to give up. He tells her that she will truly lose everything if she gives up. Her eyes show that his words are not reaching. Mako shares that he also fell into despair when his parents were killed. That is until he realizes that survivors need to find their own path. She looks at him. She sees that he is crying while he tells her to never give up and to look forward in living. Remembering that moment makes Kea's eyes get filled with tears. She remembers that she got up from her bed because of Mako. She remembers that he was the reason she was able to look forward again. Mako manages to block Grom's blow with his sword, yet he is still sent flying. Still, the man gets back up. He tells the demon that it is not over yet. Kea sees him not giving up. She realizes that he is still the strong-hearted boy she has always known him to be. She tries to get up and tell herself that Mako has not changed, despite forming a pact with the demon. She yells her support for Mako to never give up. The man hears her and is shocked. Kea is full of tears as she smiles and tells him to do his best to defeat the Majin. Mako smiles. Grom berates him for looking away while he is in the middle attacking him. Mako blocks his strike. Grom is surprised. He sees Mako's effort to stand still despite the impact. Mako is thinking about how he hurt Kea while he dodges. He is happy to know that the woman trusts him regardless. It gives him the motivation not to lose. He slices multiple times. Grom recognizes that he has become faster. Mako is still on the offensive. His blade manages to get close enough, inches away from the demon's left eye. As he finishes his sword swing, he declares that they will live and make it back. Blood splatters on the ground. Grom pulls back. The back and forth stops for a moment. Grom is revealed to be sliced on his left cheek. Kea is impressed. The Majin licks the blood from his cheek with amusement. He realizes that it is time for him to end the fight. He gathers energy from his hand. Mako instantly feels the volatile power being collected. Grom asks Reno one last time to join them. He tells her that if she accepts, he might let the humans go. Reno is silent. Mako looks at her with a confident smile. Reno smiles back. She answers that neither she nor Mako will ever bow to a demon. Grom answers that she will die with them. Powerful energy shoots out of the Majin's hand and approaches them. The trio braces for the impact. Mako still looks determined to win. A portal suddenly appears in front of the trio and absorbs the energy. Everyone is shocked. The portal continues to absorb the energy until it dissipates. A hand grabs Mako's shoulder from behind. A voice tells Grom that he will not let the demons snuff out people who will paint their bright future. Grom asks who he is. It turns out it is Yugo, still holding his bottle of sake while challenging the Majin to a fight. The S-rank hunter makes a heroic entry just in time to save them. Seeing their surprised faces, Yugo commends their effort and says he'll handle the rest. The gap between them is obvious as the hunter's sheer presence overwhelms the area. Grom is intrigued by the newcomer, certain that he's stronger than the others. The hunter confidently agrees, saying he is much stronger than the demon. Ignoring the enemy's seething anger, he says he must, first and foremost, avenge his injured juniors. He summons Nova, his special class divine spirit, ready for the fight. The demon plants his feet on the ground, wishing that the man is not all talk. Launching himself forward, Grom tries to strike first, but has his fist caught still in midair. Gripping tight, Yugo asks that he spare his face, as it's important for his status. With surprising strength, he throws his enemy away, and as the demon is sent flying, an odd portal starts swirling behind him, swallowing him up. It spits the demon right out in front of the S-rank hunter. Still confused, he fails to react right away, as he's welcomed back with a massive punch. Sent flying, he's told that it must be confusing if his thoughts and situation don't match. The dungeon shook from the force, but was dead silent from the battle. Mako asks how a punch was so effective, when divine power is the only thing that can hurt demons. Actually, Yugo has coated his entire body with this power, but even so, his strength is abnormal. Cursing the unexpected beating he's taking, Grom summons a ball of magic and launches a beam of darkness at his enemy. Not even bothering to dodge, the hunter stood his ground and cast a spell of his own. The enormous ray of light shot forward, completely devouring the demon's magic. The Magin was stunned in shock, unable to believe that he was being overwhelmed. He barely dodges a direct hit, but the spell's area of effect is so huge that it still hits and takes his entire arm off. As the enemy screamed in pain, Mako was mesmerized by his ally, who didn't even move from where he was standing. Grom was able to avoid the spell, but not without taking fatal injuries. Goaded into using his abilities, the Magin seethed with anger, still reeling from the damage. He releases a burst of magic, along with a huge mass of killing intent. However, before he could do anything more, Fane appeared to hold him back. The atmosphere instantly grew immensely heavy, putting the hunters on high alert. Grom looked back in anger, questioning why his comrade was interrupting. Called a fool, he's told that he'll die if he uses his spells in his current state. Turning to Yugo, the powerful demon acknowledged his strength, saying a fight will only harm them both. The hunter agrees with a smile, saying he definitely looks strong. With this, they agree to call it a draw and retreat for now. Grom tries to argue, fully intent on ending the fight with one winner. However, one commanding look from Fane is all it takes to make him shut up and obey. Before leaving, he gives one last nasty glare, vowing to take their heads one day. With this, the portal closes up, leaving the hunters alone in the dungeon. Silence comes, signaling the end of the dangerous battle. While Yugo wonders if they escaped, just like that, Mako called to him and showed his gratitude with a deep and long bow. For now, they decide to talk. While heading back to the surface, they catch up and fill each other in on the details. From the first time they met, the S-ranker suspected that he might have a contract with a demon. Considering the movements of the Magin, he figured they were being targeted and followed behind. Moving on, he asks the two hunters if they managed to make up. Kea realized that her friend hasn't changed despite the pact with the demon. Getting a chilling tone, she turns to Reno and says she still doesn't trust her, regardless of their relationship. Bordering on hostility, the fallen angels tells her to do as she sees fit. While Mako struggles to calm them down, Yugo thinks deeply about the former spirit and believes she'll be a significant key. As such, she welcomes her, along with her partner's humanity. Feeling a wave of hope and understanding, the young hunter smiles. Building on this burst of inspiration, he rushes to the hunter and declares his determination to grow much stronger than he is now. Although they're all surprised by his unexpected vigor, they smile in support. Yugo dashed forward to leave them all behind, saying he looks forward to the day they fight side by side. The top hunter later gives the chairman a full report of the events, adding that the demons should remain quiet for a while. Kama thanks him, glad that he left things in the capable hands of the hunter. Moving on, he asks if he remembers the former rank hunter Yusei. He's now a notorious criminal who killed several hunters after being fired for misconduct. They had him in custody for a while, but he suddenly disappeared the other day. Since he has another matter to address, Yugo can't step in for now. Thinking about Mako and Kea, he says he has two promising juniors to recommend. As they end the call, Kamu apologizes for making someone else in the room wait. He takes a seat to listen to what he has to say. At the other end of the table was Yusei's former disciple, A-rank hunter Uji, who vowed to stop his old master's heinous acts. A long time before the incident, Uji looked over the city with his master, declaring his goal of becoming a perfect hunter soon. Yusei complained over how stiff he was, not wanting a boring disciple. Since he's put in the effort to become a hunter, he should enjoy the experience first. While his priority is to fulfill his responsibilities, the master tells him to forget about it. One can become a hero just by killing demons, but the rules make things difficult. Even so, he should pursue his ideals and refuse to become the association's dog, no matter what. The young one accepts the advice, mockingly saying that he won't be like his mentor. It was a beautiful day, and the sun shone on joggers as usual. While running with Kea, Mako shared how he and Reno bought flowers after clearing the dungeon. Thanks to that, his room was getting brighter by the day. Intrigued and humoring the idea, she asks about the demon's preferences, aside from flowers. Wanting her to ask herself, he raises his fist, prompting his partner to reply. A curt and dismissive response is all they get, and she's told to be a bit friendlier, as they're all on the same team. That said, the demon retorts with an attitude, saying she's the one who refuses to trust them. Mako tries to mediate, asking them to get along, even just a bit better, but is promptly told to shut his mouth. While he's silenced, they overhear a conversation about a hunter criminal who escaped prison. Struck with fear from the news, some people decide to head home early. Asked if she knows anything, Kea goes on about Yusei, who is considered highly skilled. Given the heinous crime he committed, they wonder what could have possibly triggered it. Just then, their phones pinged with a notification. Upon checking, they find that they've both received an email from the association. What's more, the two hunters are being summoned immediately. Since it follows a recommendation from Yugo, they decide to head to the location first. In the association headquarters, they're greeted by Hayashi from the Abnormal Measures Department. Due to the S-ranker's high praise, they're being entrusted with the mission of searching for the criminal Yuze. The police are conducting an investigation, but the association needs to take action as well. After all, it's possible that the target is hiding in the gate nearest from where he escaped. As hunters, they're tasked to investigate that C-rank gate. Mako's confidence drops since the opponent is a former A-ranker. With this, he's informed that another person will be joining their group. The association requested assistance from an equally ranked hunter who should arrive soon. As he says this, Uji enters the room, inciting a loud reaction from Kea. The hunter greets her with uncaring eyes, saying it's been a while since they last met. Leaving the room, Hayashi tells them to take a look at the documents for more details. Catching up, the two former comrades talk about how they cleared a gate together long ago. Uji is the only genius from their generation who was able to rise to a rank. Delighted to work with someone like him, Mako extends his hand to introduce himself. Although the top-ranking hunter reciprocates the introduction, he ignores the extended hand, declining the bid at friendship. Instead, he gets straight to the point and states that he has no intention of teaming up with the two. In disbelief at the declaration, Kea asks why, intent on working together. Frankly speaking, he doesn't need their help, and they'll only be a hindrance to him. He's decided that this is his personal responsibility and will search for his old master alone. The young man turned to leave, ignoring her repeated calls to wait. It was Mako's turn to speak, and he refused the idea, saying it's imperative that they work together. Once more, Uji says they'll only be a nuisance, but he argues that the search will be easier for the disciple if they clear the Gate of Demons. In other words, doing things alone is the less efficient approach overall. His logic reaches the A-ranker, who hasn't left yet. Vying for their usefulness and capabilities as hunters, the two promised to do their best. Convinced, the hunter sighed in resignation and told them to do what they wanted. That said, he'll do the same, and left without looking back this time. Since they formed any sort of plan, the two decide to tail their comrade. Meanwhile, at an abandoned building, the chains and barricade were strewn on the ground. A small group entered with flashlights, wanting to turn it into their territory. Getting hopeful, they talk about managing a floor each and look around the classrooms available. Suddenly, they see a huge structure in the middle, frozen solid in the air. It's a dungeon gate, and it's completely encased in thick ice. They take their phones out to contact the association and have the hunters handle the problem. As it was suddenly silent, one of the wanderers looked back and found his two companions frozen in ice. He dropped to the ground in shock, and the flashlight shined on a figure in the dark. Before he could do anything, the young man was completely frozen and promptly shattered into pieces. Yuze made quick work of them, saying he has to hide better, as the unnecessary corpses are piling up. Staring at the frozen gate, he states that he isn't wrong. To him, the first goal is to take revenge on the association. Deep in the forest, a gate surged with power. Before entering, Uji gives a final reminder that he's going to do things his way. Mako says he wants to tell him something before starting the mission. If they're going to work together, he should inform him about Rino's situation. The hunter reveals that Yugo has already told him about the pact with the demon. They're surprised by his reaction and ask if he's not going to condemn the idea. To him, rather than a contract being inherently immoral, it's one's actions that determine evil. Mako is stunned by the open thinking, so Kea reaffirms that he isn't as bad as he thinks. The top hunter entered the gate, while he smiled in relief, finding out that there are people who think that way. Inside the gate, a castle-like environment appeared. The party quickly made their way through, and soon faced the spider dungeon boss. As expected of a C-ranker, it won't be easy to take down. With dangerous speed, it attacked, going straight for Mako. However, Uji moves even faster and encases the entire enemy in a thick shell of ice. They looked on in surprise, seeing the spider freeze in an instant. It broke and shattered, falling to the ground in pieces soon after. They didn't expect it, but the A-ranker arrived with his spirit, Yuki, and provided support. Thanking him for saving them, they ask about his search, but it's already been completed. There were no clues or traces, so they have no reason to stay a moment longer. That said, it's amazing how he instantly defeated the boss, which even Kea was struggling against. She tries to go after the self-centered hunter, but sees that Mako isn't moving. Grinning widely, he's told that a new ability was just awakened during the fight. It's Residual Shadow Sense, which detects traces of shadows to locate a target. This immediately grabs Uji's attention. If it's within 24 hours, the skill can follow the footsteps of whoever was there. Running to the former disciple, he excitedly says they might find the target this way. Asked for any place that may be significant, he thinks about it and shares that there's a nearby hill where he and his master used to talk a lot. Without saying another word, he started walking away, and they can only assume that he's telling them to follow. A while later, they reached the hill he was talking about and looked over the city from above. He never thought he'd come back there after the things his master did. Noting how the place must hold several memories for his comrade, Mako is told to stop wasting time and use the ability already. As he follows instructions, darkness enveloped his eyes and spread across the area like a grid. There, they see footsteps made out of shadows, clearly showing the target's movement. As such, he confirms that someone was there. It's just one person, and he can't make out who it was, but it stood beside where Uji was. Activating more of his ability, he materializes the shadow's characteristics, and with this, Yusei's figure appears. Seeing it, the disciple confirms his master's visit but falls sullen, questioning why he would think of coming there. Back then, he wondered why his master always brought him there, but was told that he was just tagging along, and the top hunter went there for a break. Looking over the city, he felt free and turned it into a routine to shake off doubts. That same day, he told his student to live a life without being bound to certain things. Reminded of this memory, he remembers the countless things he learned and calms himself down. Mako worries about him, but Uji brushes it off, saying they have to get to work. Since they already know his exact location, they head out right away. Yusei likely shook off some doubts on the hill, but his end goal is still unclear. Meanwhile, in the association's gate management system department, Miss Hin monitors her screen and suddenly says that she feels something is off. Taking a closer look, she remembered something important and urgently put everyone on high alert, demanding the internal light immediately. Getting ready, she calls to everyone present. She announces the possibility of a gate break and orders all hunters to search for the gate. The party of 3 ran around the forest, moving fast to chase their target. Just then, their phones rang at the same time, alerting them to the emergency announcement from the association. The exact coordinates of the gate are unknown, so they're tasked to do an immediate survey. If Mako remembers correctly, it would take 7 days to enter a breaking stage. Since it can happen at any moment, they have to hurry, but would risk losing Yusei's trace. Uji remembered his master and his habit of visiting the hill to shake doubts away. With this, he gets an idea of what the rebel hunter's goal might be. Suddenly grabbing onto the young comrade, he asks him to guide them fast, as the target's exact goal is causing the gate break. Understanding the situation, Mako takes the lead, and they rush through the forest. Soon enough, they reach the abandoned school, following the shadow traces. It heads straight inside, ascertaining the target's destination and the likely location of the gate. Just then, a huge bolt of darkness shot out of the building's roof, reaching the heavens. It turns the sky dark, and that very phenomenon reminded the two of an unforgettable view. It's etched into their brains as it signaled the day their families died. As such, the two power up right that instant, knowing they have to stop the demons no matter what. The windows broke open, and countless enemies started pouring out. The hunters charged in, taking as many out as possible to minimize the destruction. They tear through the monsters, intending to hold the horde back until reinforcements arrive. While the two were doing their best, Uji created a path of ice leading straight into the building. He hopped in alone, leaving the others to fend the enemies off themselves. The self-centered hunter is working on his own again, and so they have no choice but to struggle on their own. Drained from the unrelenting battle, they start to reach their limit soon enough. Just then, blasts of magic burst forth, taking waves of enemies out in an instant. They did a great job of holding out, and reinforcements have finally arrived to join the fight. Seeing everyone charge in, he's surprised by the number of hunters that appeared and decides to pull his own weight. That said, people start to notice that they don't feel any mana coming from the rookie hunter. If he keeps fighting like that, people will eventually figure his secret out. He's unable to leave them there, but fortunately, Kea whips up a storm, taking several beasts out and telling him to leave things to her while he provides Uji with support. He can't thank her enough and dash right into the school, taking the demons inside with intent and purpose. Looking for the gate, he moved deeper in and suddenly felt a chill in the air. In one of the classrooms, he finds someone fighting. There were huge pikes of ice everywhere, and a powerful monster was frozen solid. Uji breaks it into multiple pieces, taking the gate boss out without much trouble. Walking back to Mako, he shares that Yusei has already left the building. Even if they're able to stop the break, it will be pointless, as he'll just try the same thing again. The young hunter says it isn't pointless, eliciting the top ranker's anger as he acts like he knows something. His eyes are covered in an aura of darkness, reminding Uji that they got there because of his ability. Considering this, it's far too early to give up on their goal. Since he defeated the boss so fast, they can still catch up with Yusei. Mako pulls on the disciple, telling him to hurry before he gets too far from them. At that moment, all Uji could see was his back and the hand that was urgently pulling him forward. Taking it back, he recovers his mental and thanks the comrade for bringing him back. It's too early to thank him, so they decide to settle the pleasantries. Once everything is finished, the two rush forward, following the shadow's traces and hurrying to put an end to it. Later, they reach the association's system headquarters, which the shadow was heading for. If the gate management system is destroyed, the world will be thrown into chaos. The place is already in ruins as ice blocks littered the area, along with the debris and rubble. To make things worse, employees, frozen in entire blocks, cluttered the floor. They're too late, as the security hunters, staff, and everyone else was already subdued. Uji dashed on, leaving the young hunter there. Following the trail of destruction, he sped deeper into the building. In the middle of it all was Yusei, who was meters away from the main generator. He's placed a powerful explosive there, beeping and ready to blow the association apart. Just then, shards of ice shot at him, but he blocked with little to no effort at all. Uji has made it just in time to try and stop his former master. The reunion doesn't go too well, as the master tells him not to spoil his plan, which was progressing so smoothly. As the two are reunited, Uji declares that his master's crimes will end right there. Since he's saying that so confidently, Yusei flicks his finger and causes a huge wall of ice to block the entrance. It's thick enough to stop anyone from entering, and since it's their long-awaited reunion, he doesn't want to be disturbed. They hear Mako banging from outside, but the master suddenly asks if he wants to take revenge. With determined eyes, Uji factually states that he can't afford to be lenient with him. After all that, he still hasn't changed. Yusei calls on Flown, his high-ranking divine spirit, and tells the disciple to go all out. He doesn't need to be told, as Yuki was already out as well. There's only one condition to win, which is destroying the traitor and the device. If he fights with the intention to buy time and call for reinforcements, he'll certainly die. He summons multiple ice pikes, knowing they must reach a conclusion right then and there. Watching him send the projectiles forward, Yusei acknowledges his growth as a hunter. Unfortunately, they're nothing in the face of the one who taught him. Using the same spell, the master overpowers his student's attack. Fighting head-on would be disadvantageous, so Uji summons dual ice blades. Amused, the traitor smiles, reminding him who taught the technique. As he must already know the answer, he summons an ice blade, which is cruder but also much harder. For his first move, the student throws one of his weapons, using it like a dagger. Yusei swats it away, surprised that he would discard the advantage of dual swords so easily. Now he just has to be careful of the opponent's armed left side. He did not expect that a blade would come speeding from the right as well. They cross over, and he barely dodges to keep his head on his neck. Against his expectations, the student has already generated a new sword. The battle intensifies, and the young hunter continues to hack at the veteran, relentlessly throwing his blades at him. It's an interesting tactic, which is only possible since his ice regeneration speed is faster. He commends Uji, surprised and excited by the way he fights. With a gaze as cold as his power, the student says he isn't the same person anymore and believes that his tactics are working. However, Yusei feels like he's being underestimated. He decides to get serious and show him his new ability. On the other side of the room, Mako was pounding on the ice wall. However, the creator is considerably strong, so all they can do now is keep trying. The huge block of ice beside Yusei kept growing, seemingly molding into something else. After a while, a perfect clone materialized, rendering Uji's dual-wielding obsolete. The student foolishly thinks that a petty doll can't be that strong. Believing this, he charged in confidently. However, the petty doll blocks his blade completely, and he can't even move an inch. Sent back, he's told that the clone moves independently and is at the same level as its creator. Uji struggles, thinking of a way to deal with the well-made doll. With this, it's 2-on-1, and it's too bad that his friend can't join. Mako hears the development from the other side and tries to hurry up. While the explosive continued to count down, the battle intensified, and frozen blades clashed against each other. The student tries to fend off the clone, but becomes so preoccupied that he leaves an opening for Yusei to strike. A quick combo leaves him flying and injured, But the barrage doesn't end, as the master continues to shoot countless shards of ice his way. Seeing his student defend, the traitor chuckles, saying it's rare to see him so lively. Uji pants in exhaustion and pain, unable to believe the huge gap between them. He grits his teeth in anger. If he's so strong, then why does he have to waste his extraordinary skills on committing evil? Hearing this, Yusei rejects the idea that he's evil. Nothing has changed since they met, and he's just more honest with himself. All hunters who seek to defeat monsters would use any means to close the most amount of gates. However, the world is restricted by the association, and he's fed up with the system. As such, he ignored those rules and conquered countless gates, but was terminated as a result. Uji argues that he committed murder and receives a chilling glare in response. To Yusei, there's nothing wrong with killing mindless dogs who do nothing but obey the association. Reality sets in, and they realize that there's no defending him anymore. With the ongoing gate break, the gate system will collapse, along with the association itself. For his revenge, he's vowed to set the hunters free from the tyrants collaring them. Uji curses him and his ideals, confirming that he really has changed. Although trembling in weakness, he stands up, unwilling to let it just happen. As his former disciple, he promises to stop him right then and there. While he can keep barking, he's already trapped, frozen solid with the ground. He didn't notice, but the ice was rapidly creeping up his legs. With all his limbs immobile, he can't do anything as his master points his blade at the student's head. Saying goodbye, he raised his weapon. Just then, they're interrupted as the wall blocking the entrance explodes. Mako barged in on their fight, splitting them apart with the swing of his hammer. Putting himself between them, he tells the traitor to stop with the nonsense. Mako breaks the ice off Uji's limbs, allowing him to move once more. Hammering away, he confidently assures him that he knows how to break the ice. All this time, he was hitting the wall, desperate to come and help. Comforted by the comrade's presence, he smiles. Meanwhile, Yusei overhears his statement about knowing how to destroy his ice. The master doubts this, as he must just be another piece of trash in the association. With the numbers now evened out, a new battle begins. Since having an opponent like Uji is troublesome on its own, he decides to go after the weakling and regain the numbers advantage. As he swung his blade, his student came between them, defending his partner. Holding the weapon tight, he vows to defeat him himself. Annoyed, Yusei calls on his clone and tells it to take care of Mako for him. The two clash, exchanging blows back and forth. Its attacks are sharp, and the swings are undeniably heavy. However, the image of Grom appears in his mind as menacing and evil as the demon is. With the memory of the life-threatening battle, his mind and body calm down. Looking back, Uji worries for Mako, already expecting him to have a difficult time. Noticing his divided attention, Yusei guesses that he must be thinking about his comrade. That said, it should be impossible for him to defeat his spell. As he says this, the clone is split in half with one swing. As the dark swing cut right through, both the master and student couldn't believe their eyes. Standing triumphantly with a stern gaze, he says it's not even worth comparing to Grom. Sending Uji back, Yusei gets a revelation and correctly guesses that he must have made a pact with a demon. Feeling smart, he tries to give advice and asks if he can enjoy life, hiding the fact that he's working with a demon. Looking at the worried young man, he suggests joining hands and changing the unfair world together. Quietly, Mako acknowledges that he might just be right, but he at least knows that no matter what life he lives, his goal is to save the world as a hunter. On the other hand, the traitor's actions so far are no different from the ones of demons. With this, he's determined to defeat him as a hunter. Hearing him, Uji is also enlightened that relationships such as master and student won't matter to a hunter. As Mako said, he's nothing but an evil that needs to be slain. Driven by their determination, the two stand against him, who asks if they really want to die so badly. Insulted and annoyed, he dashed forward and hit both hunters in an instant. Surprised as they felt like they were prepared, the foolish young men realize that the top hunter has been hiding his true power so far. Yusei starts to pressure them, unleashing a barrage of swings and swipes. Mako can barely keep up, as his movements are completely different from the clone. Thinking of a way to be useful, he uses his shadow search ability. The dark aura enveloped his eyes, and he started seeing the enemy's silhouettes. Based on the after images of his movements, he can see the trajectory of his future actions. That said, it would be much better if he could somehow share this with his allies. Reno chimes in, saying it's fully possible if he applies his mana on his allies' eyes. Doing just that, the familiar dark energy appeared on Uji's face. Looking at the enemy, he sees Yusei's after images and realizes that it's what Mako must be seeing. Following the trajectory laid out, He perfectly dodges the next attack, even fitting in a counter of his own. Unfortunately, this still isn't enough to overcome the master's skills. As Uji was about to be done in, his partner came in a flash, deflecting one of Yusei's blades, and he finally realizes that they'd begun reading his moves. Evading a swing, he backs away for now, cursing the newfound power. Letting his blades go, he tells them not to get too arrogant. His student recognizes his form, and that he's about to end things with brute force. Gathering his energy, Yusei casts his ultimate move to finish them off. Uji refuses to allow it, so he assumes the very same stance. With this, the two hunters summon their ice dragons, each reflecting their rage and refinement of magic. The two ultimate moves clashed, and the master's creation devours the students. As the dragons fell, the cold mist and icicles settled, revealing the victor of the battle. As Yusei triumphantly stood, he was completely unaware that the two opponents were behind him, knowing full well that he was not going to move. They revealed themselves, blades inches away from his neck. He turned around, confused and arguing that it should be impossible. However, when he faces them, the two hunters only deal the final blow. The attack goes through his chest, also cutting the detonator in half. With this, the former A-rank hunter falls and is caught by his old disciple. Uji liked his way of thinking and his carefree nature, longing for it as he didn't have such ideals. Unfortunately, he chose the wrong path, so this is the end for his master. Looking at them, Mako realizes that there is no human who doesn't make mistakes, and even the strong fall sometimes. Even so, with Reno, he has to remain on the path they believe is right. With the situation settled, things calm down. Along with the gate break in the school, the association's people should come soon to take Yusei into custody. The traitor is bound, and his wounds were preserved with ice. Uji wouldn't have won alone, and would have likely lost without Mako's help. With this, he expresses his gratitude to the young hunter, saying he owes him. Finally, they shake each other's hands, earning each other's acknowledgement. As expected, the association later comes for Yusei. They thank the two hunters for allowing them to secure the target. However, when they're about to leave, someone suddenly held Mako still. He looked back in confusion, not understanding the fuss. A man stepped out of the car, mentioning reports of his involvement with demons. Renji, chief of the Anti-Abnormality Department, says he has to be taken into custody too. In the association headquarters, Mako was brought in, bound and restricted from making sudden movements. Following the men who took him, he's told that they're headed to a conference room where his fate will be decided. As expected, exposing his abilities to the other hunters last night won't end well for him. Reaching their destination, he's instructed to mind his manners before entering. Inside, he's met with a highly influential group of people. The chairman and Yugo are there, greeting him with a light mood. On the other hand, a couple others are also present, glaring at him with chilling eyes. The room's atmosphere immediately grew thick as the conference kicked off. Their main topic will revolve around Mako's involvement with a demon. Based on the discussion, they will take measurements by evaluating the young man's situation. Starting strong, they outright ask him if he really does have a contract with a demon. They're asking despite already knowing the truth, so lying will only put him at a disadvantage. With this, he tells Reno to come out. The fallen angel appears, looking at them with cold eyes. Upon seeing the humanoid demon, the S-ranker, Tsubasa, seethed with anger, as he not only worked with a demon, but a powerful magician. He's furious that he's acting so bravely, and aims to erase her existence right there. Mako rushes between them, wanting to protect his partner. The bright red ray of mana shot forward, but a familiar portal appeared to swallow it up. Yugo had stepped in to save them, calling his peer out for being too hasty. Since the discussion had just begun, he suggests taking a seat for now. Still fired up, Tsubasa threatens to erase him, arguing that a discussion would be a waste of time. Unable to back his words, he takes a seat, and the young man is told to explain himself. Mako starts off, revealing the truth about Reno being a fallen angel. It's a claim that's difficult to believe, as they have never heard of such a case. Just then, Nova appeared to whisper something. Understanding, Yugo asks her to also explain to everyone there. Even in the divine world, there are rumors of an angel falling and turning into a demon. As this backs the claim, he thanks her for her support. Seemingly satisfied, he asks if there's any reason for them to debate any further. That said, it's now undeniable that she's a demon, and killing their kind is the association's job. Renji chimed in, wondering how she lost her status in the first place. He's met with silence, and even Mako worries. Reno says she can't say anything, aside from confirming that she's turned into a demon. Refusing to answer doesn't help their case, as it opens the possibility of her working as a spy against them. They insist that she isn't a dangerous demon, but have no foolproof way of guaranteeing the claim and discounting the lies. He falls silent, pressured by the intent in their gazes, and struggling to think of anything to do. As the tension grew by the second, it was quickly dispelled, as someone entered with a light hum. A young woman appeared, apologizing for arriving late, and saying she fell asleep twice, since the bed was too comfortable. She's scolded for being unpunctual, which is an unbecoming trait for an S-ranker. Telling them to complain to the bed instead, she asks to be caught up to the topic. Her reaction is quite lukewarm, compared to the heavy subject matter. Before moving on, she shares that there are two people, standing by the door outside. While the others are confused, Yugo smiles, saying he finally has a chance now. Calling to the visitors, he tells them to enter. The doors open, revealing Uji and Kea. They all stared in surprise, not expecting the hunters to be there. Questioned why they're being let in, he says they're also involved, even confirming with the chairman. After a moment of thought, Kamu allows their presence, wanting to hear the opinion of those deeply close to the young man. With this, the two stand by his side, but Mako worries that doing so will only drag them along to his punishment. Uji asks them to consider that he would not have been able to capture Yusei without the defendant's help. Kea adds that they once fought Imagine, and that Reno wouldn't have helped if she were evil. Ending their statements, she sincerely asks for their consideration, asking them to believe as their friends fought bravely against their adversaries. Mako can't help but be touched, and Renji acknowledges how serious it must be if even Kea, who hates demons, is willing to go so far. Yugo says it's proof that she isn't dangerous for now, but can't guarantee their future. With this, he proposes that the two have the potential to save the world as they know it. Tsubasa scolds him for being too idealistic, as the risk of betrayal is higher. Since it's their job to respond to such a case, Yugo volunteers to take responsibility, should that happen. As the tension grew once more, he reaffirms his faith in their potential as the best option to defeat demons. Whatever happens, Mako doesn't want to waste his allies' efforts. Soon enough, the time to decide comes, and those wishing for disciplinary action are told to raise their hands. Tsubasa and Renji raise their hands, while the two other S-rankers smile at each other, keeping their arms low. Haimji's response frustrates them, so she reasons that it's rare for Yugo to go so far. With the vote split, they turn to the chairman for a final decision. The old man was silent and deep in thought. After a while, he opened his eyes, staring deep into the pair's hearts. For now, he asks to hear their intentions before making his choice on the matter. Addressing Reno first, he questions the reason why she made a contract with her partner. Seemingly having earned her respect, she first lowers herself to the ground, meeting the humans and explaining that she simply wanted to help him whose heart was suffering. Moreover, demons are her enemies as well, and she wants to defeat them with Mako. The chairman asks if the hunter has anything to say. Remembering his family, he states that he doesn't want to let anyone lose their lives unfairly. For that reason, he'll get his very best to fight the demons. With this, he offers himself up, asking that they be used for the sake of the world. The room is silent, and his words seem to even reach Tsubasa. After another moment of consideration, Kamu says he's made his decision. Everyone fell silent as they awaited the chairman's resolution. For now, Mako and Reno will continue their activities while being overseen by the association. The conclusion surprises most of them, except Yugo, who smiled in satisfaction. Tsubasa was incredulous and momentarily questioned the old man's decision, not expecting it from someone like him. The hunter refuses to accept, without a good reason. Kamu sighs in slight exhaustion and explains that he sees their value to the association, which already has its worth. Moreover, he did not see any lies while looking into Mako's eyes and listening to his words. Despite the uncertainty of the future, he has not grown as soft as they might think. Since no one can fool the chairman's eyes, Tsubasa backs down and follows his decision. Moving to the conditions, he wants the fallen angel to provide information on the Majin. Moreover, they will be building achievements through the subjugation of demons. If they act under these conditions, they can win their trust soon enough. Mako gladly accepts the generous offer, bowing to thank them for their understanding. With this, they are to explain everything they know about demons, without leaving out details. Uji and Kea are asked to leave the room for the sake of secrecy. Since the information they have about demons is limited, the chairman mentions the Majin and asks to know about their power and numbers. As far as Reno knows, there are around 100 of them, and hold a social structure like the hunter. The high number takes them by surprise, but she makes it worse, adding that dozens of them are at least on the same level as Yugo. With that said, the information is very bad news for the association, but he confidently says that they'll somehow take care of it. On top of that, there's a being who leads those Majin, but she doesn't know more about it. This is crucial information as they finally confirm that the enemy has a king figure. She knows all this because of her experience after falling as an angel. She was taken to their base and invited to join their ranks. She was completely overwhelmed by their numbers, and while they tried to brainwash her, she managed to escape at the last moment. They then ask for their purpose and why they're invading the human realm. Demons have the same needs as humans, such as food and sleep, but they also have their own primal instincts, which is to invade and dominate. If this is the case, it means there's no reasoning or negotiating. However, Magians possess intelligence and reasoning on top of their instincts. This means that the being acting as their king should have a goal in mind. While it's highly possible, she doesn't know more about the details. While dangerous, the information fires Tsubasa up, as he vows to destroy their goals. If they are invading the peace of humans, for such trivial reasons, it will be interesting. Yugo is also intrigued, wanting to fight intelligent Magians and their king instead. They thank Rino for now, saying they might contact her again in the future. Despite all that, their goal is still the same, and they will continue to fight against the demons. For now, Mako will remain in their custody and watch, mainly for security purposes. It will be officially announced later, but it's safer for him to remain inside the association. Adding on, it's logical to expect slander and insults from others, given his situation. They proceed with the condition of gathering achievements through gate subjugations. Confirming that he's an F ranker, Hamu recalls that the next rank evaluation is still far away. Watching the chairman approach, the other hunters start to worry. After listening to the information about demons, he got quite fired up. As such, he's decided to give the newcomer a special revaluation himself. While Mako worries about the unexpected development, the others only chuckle, saying the old man's bad habit has unfortunately started coming out. Tsubasa, who was consistently hostile, now laughs at him in amusement. While the oblivious young man wonders why they're acting that way, Kamu ends the meeting and picks him up, saying they're headed to the training hall. Soon enough, Mako finds himself in an arena, facing the head of the association himself. Since it's a special case, he's told to fight and show his true strength. The idea itself seems ridiculous, but the chairman promises to hold back and use about 1/10 or 2 of his power. Standing tall, his divine spirit Yulan appeared with a brilliant light. Seeing the sword, Mako wonders if it's his power, and notes that the spirit is on the same level as Yugo's. The two faced each like light and dark, while the other hunters watched on. Looking intently, they wonder just how strong the demon pact holder is. As a final condition, the young man is told to land at least a single hit, unless he wants to be forcibly removed from the Hunters Association. Just like that, the match began, while Mako struggled to accept the situation, even asking that he stop joking. Closing the gap in an instant, the chairman says he doesn't tell jokes in such places. Unable to even react to his speed, he takes a direct hit and is sent crashing into the wall. Barely able to get his sword up, he's stunned by the unrealistically heavy strike. Recalling how he promised to deliver results, Kamu asks if his words were mere lies to keep himself alive. Barely able to keep himself up, Mako continues the battle. His hands feel numb, and he can't believe that the chairman was holding himself back. Kamu overflows with power and tells him to fight without hesitation. With no other choice, he does as told and charged in with determination. For now, he starts by binding his opponent with chains, revealing the ability for the first time. The young man jumped in, believing his sword would be unstoppable, at least in this situation. As he brought the blade down, the gap between them became clear, as the chairman caught it between his fingers, saying he has shallow attacks. Merely tossed to the ground, he gets the wind knocked out of him. At this rate, he won't be able to land a single hit. Determined to prove himself, Mako backed away for now, trying to regain his footing. Meanwhile, Kamu breaks the chains, asking if he has anything more to offer. While all that was happening, a bottle of alcohol opened up. Yugo downs the bottle, enjoying the match with the others, who share mixed feelings over the show. Without moving an inch, Mako thinks hard, wondering how he can land a single hit. Tired of how long he's taking, the chairman decides to go on the offensive. His movements are intense, and the old man closed the gap in an instant. Summoning his brilliant sword once more, he swings, and the target is well aware that blocking the attack is not an option. Left with nothing else to do, he jumps away just in time. The cut just barely misses, cutting the fabric on his chest. That said, the old man swung as wide as possible to make his attack dodgeable by the right person. Kamu praises the hunter's reaction and tells him to maintain the pace. He continued to swing, not giving the opponent a chance to counter. His attacks are heavy and consecutive, but if all he does is keep dodging, he'll end up losing the match anyway. Knowing this is true, Mako tries to gain some distance first, and turns his shadow weapon into a gun. While the chairman is surprised by the development, he shoots. The audience is amused, finding the fight increasingly enjoyable. The shooter wonders if he landed a hit, but his eyes widen in surprise. A huge shield covers the opponent's body, and Kamu praises him for forcing the equipment out. He's still wondering when and where the shield was pulled out. However, this only prompts the chairman to go further and summon a long lance next. His divine spirit skill is armory, which allows him to change weapons as he wishes. Having multiple weapons at his disposal is already problematic, but it's obvious that none of them are normal. His spirit, Yulan, is the god of weapons, and allows him to use heroic equipment as much as he wants. In other words, the chairman is the strongest close-range fighter in the association. With this reveal, they proceed to the second round. Since using a gun against a spearman is risky, he switches back to his sword. As they might have noticed, the armory skill is similar to his shadow materialization abilities. Intrigued, the chairman charged in, curious as to how he's going to counter his armory. Mako struggles against the series of thrusts, as the power is combined with the lance's long reach. Just then, his eyes notice something. Something shimmers, and he reacts instinctively, deflecting the axes thrown his way. Able to use his skill this way as well, Kamu follows up and smashes a huge hammer on the ground. Seeing the enormous weapon, he notices the shape starting to dissipate. Mako backs away and jumps high to evade the swing of a sharp axe. While he's in the air, the weapon changes again and now turns into a bow and arrow. Not having the chance to breathe, he does his best to stay alive. Meanwhile, Yugo realizes what's happening and praises the chairman for being a great instructor. The hunter slices the arrow in half. Now the two face each other once more. Speaking to Reno, he says he's also realized something by watching the chairman fight. Armory gives the advantage, regardless of the opponent, which is why he wanted Mako to watch. Kamu charged in again, wondering what he's going to do now. Since he's using a sword, the young hunter has learned from him and summons a spear, which is the natural counter for a swordsman. However, that won't be enough. Right as they were about to clash, Mako changed his weapon once more, allowing him to step in without being hindered. In that moment, he summoned a much shorter dagger and used the minimum distance needed to swipe at the opponent's chest. Everyone is shocked by the maneuver, which has allowed him to tear the chairman's shirt even just a tiny bit. He successfully and meticulously used the time lag from the opponent's equipment change. Panting in exhaustion, Mako waited for their decision. Using a spear in close proximity is difficult, so he aimed for the gap and timed the perfect blow. Kamu praises the boy's wits and ends the examination. The young hunter nearly falls to his knees, exhausted by the demanding trial. The entire time he was being guided, asked how he would overcome certain situations. In addition to his nimble movement, he uses his head well enough on the battlefield. Told to improve on himself more, the reevaluation is concluded and he's given a B rank for now. It's a huge jump, but the decision was made, also considering his future. Filled with newfound determination, Mako vows to grow stronger. Just then, Yugo appeared from behind, saying it was a thorough evaluation, but adding that he still has a long way to go, at least in terms of skill. Knowing this is true, and that he's still far from where they are, Mako calls to the S-ranker. Burning with passion to be stronger, he asks for mentorship, bowing and saying he's looking for guidance. Yugo smiles as things are going as expected so far. Since he was already thinking about training the young hunter, he accepts the request and looks forward to his growth. Seated with their respective divine spirits, Yugo suggests doing the same training he and Nova did years ago. Hunters borrow their spirit's power, and by understanding that connection, things will be more efficient. Of course, this logic applies to them as well. As long as their contract is bound by the divine stone, there will be no issues. Moreover, converting divine power into mana is still possible in theory. This would be perfect for Reno, since she has a massive mana pool. The only problem is, he can't accept and steadily control it all right now. Once he passes this training, he'll be able to tap into that power and grow much stronger. Excited by the thought, Mako looks forward to his guidance. The main step to this exercise is to hold each other's hand while conquering a dungeon. Hearing the odd method, the two fall silent. The next day, they made their way to an F-ranked dungeon. Hand in hand, they step forward, ready to complete the mission. While he's conscious about the touch, Reno says there's nothing to be embarrassed about. They were instructed to stay silent during fights and not let go no matter what. To complete the training, they have to do this while conquering dungeons from F to C rank. As he wonders if this will really work, the fallen angel points forward. Before them was a group of monsters. Since he can't let his guard down, he decides to observe the enemies first. Unfortunately, he finds his face on the ground as he's pulled by Reno, who wants to finish the fight as soon as possible. His face argues that it's better to start a match with careful observation. Unable to agree, they're barely able to dodge as the monsters charged in. One came from above, and they pulled on each other's arms once more. She almost falls from the sudden movement, and while it's easy to dodge attacks, the partners are hindering themselves as they're totally out of sync. To get over this hurdle for now, he summons his shadow gun and blasts the enemies away. With the battle settled, Mako insists that she's too aggressive, while Reno argues that he can't be too passive. Although they make valid points, their fighting styles are complete opposites. The next group of enemies surrounds them, since they didn't defeat the previous one fast enough. He opens his mouth to retort once more, but now is not the time for arguments, so they get right into action. 2 weeks later, they reach the C-rank dungeon's boss room. They'd gotten used to fighting hand in hand, but still haven't resolved their differing style. That said, a boss at this level would be difficult, so they decide to do their best. The important thing is not matching movements, but understanding each other. Agreeing on this, they stepped into the room. There, a gigantic legacy golem roared, sending tremors throughout the dungeon. Analyzing the enemy fast, Reno realizes that it's the perfect target, and flew in right away, dragging her partner. Since it can't be helped, Mako goes on the offensive as well. With his shadow hammer, he struck the boss body with all his might. However, the thick stone is too tough to get through. As expected, he should have been more careful. Reno didn't share the sentiment and flew in again. As they pulled on each other in discord, the golem countered with an attack of its own. The two are sent flying away. They can't move properly, completely out of sync. Just then, he sees his partner's determined face and realizes that she must have some sort of goal. Mako can't understand what she's aiming for, but with a firm squeeze of his hand, her message comes through. Regardless of what it may be, she's asking him to trust her. With a newfound understanding of her, he ascertains that she has something in mind. To be in sync and get stronger, he lets go of his hesitation and surrenders to her pull. The enemy charged in, and they dodged as usual, but now the two moved much more gracefully. With a counterattack, he targets the golem's chest, sending it back and breaking it open. Inside, he sees a glowing orb, which is likely its weak point. Thanks to Reno's lead, they were able to uncover it together. She flies in again, wanting to end it once and for all, but finds herself being pulled back like before. Turning around in confusion, she sees her partner's face. Now it's his turn to ask that she place her faith in him. Touched by his determined eyes, she understands his intentions. They pull back just in time to dodge the boss' long-range attacks. At times like this, he believes it's best to step away and reassess their situation. Now she understands that his method is one that limits the risks they're taking. The enemy stood tall, towering over them, but the two are now much more confident in each other. With an understanding nod, they dodge the next strike perfectly, allowing Mako to counter and send the golem staggering back. They don't give it time to recover, following through with a barrage of swings and strikes. If he were alone, he could never conquer such a dungeon, and if she didn't have him by her side, she would have been defeated long ago. Now, they acknowledge each other's sentiments. Summoning his shadow weapon, Mako swung down the entire enemy's length, cutting and breaking the crystal ball in its chest. With this, the boss fell, and they successfully completed their mission. He jumps around in joy and raises his hand to ask Reno for a high five. While it's ignored due to confusion, he brushes it off, expecting as much from the angel. Later at night, someone approached Yugo in a bar. He was downing drinks as usual when the store's bell rang upon entry. Curious, he asks how they found out about the place. Mako appears, saying the chairman told him that he frequented the bar for drinks. He turns to face the young hunter, who says his guidance helped a ton. Compared to before, he now has much better control of his mana and seems like a different person. With his training completed, he's grown way beyond Yugo's expectations. Brightening up from the praise, he sits beside his mentor. Tomorrow, Mako has to conquer a B-rank dungeon, and it seems several hunters have been called on. Handing his student a drink, he says it'll be a perfect place to show his skill, and encourages him to show the results of his training. With this, they give a toast, looking forward to what the next day brings. Several hours ago, at the meeting room of the association, Miss Him reports that they've detected a massive gate, which is relatively similar to a normal dungeon. Saying they need to summon more hunters than usual, Renji asks for the chairman's opinion. He tells them to start selecting hunters and confirms the rank of the dungeon. Hearing that it's a B ranker, he smiles, getting an idea. To her surprise, he personally recommends a hunter, certain he'll achieve a great feat. While Renji already knows what to expect, Kamu opens Mako's hunter file. The next day, on the outskirts of the Kanto prefecture, several hunters gathered around a huge gate. It's the first time Mako has seen so many people just for one dungeon. Just then, One of the men shouts at him, recognizing him as the person who formed a contract with a demon. They push on, saying it's not only a betrayal to them, but to all those who lost families. As long as they believe in his contract, the reaction is understandable, and it's better to de-escalate. Continuing to call him trash, they doubt that they even need him to enter the dungeon with them. Reno asks if it's okay to let this go, but in the end, they're just doing the mission they have. However, things turn from bad to worse as the hunters decide to kill him right there. One shoots an arrow of pure electricity. Mako takes his word out to deflect, but a wall of water suddenly appeared, blocking the attack from reaching. To his confusion, someone stops the altercation, saying they want no more fights between hunters. They argue with Sarah, an A-rank hunter, insisting that he's a traitor. She ignores them, instead apologizing to Mako as the raid's organizer. Counting on her, he takes her hand in gratitude. Ordering everyone to move past it, the leader starts delegating roles. She's a famous influencer, but despite her bubbly attitude, she's climbed the ranks of the association. Behind him, another member of the raid watched, oddly staying back after confirming his identity. Minutes later, they're already inside the dungeon and are subject to the environment's scorching heat. They stop for a moment, reaching the edge of a deep cliff. They take a closer look and see the bottom filled with raging and hungry demons. Sarah convinces herself, saying she can do it, and that her judgment is correct. Calling for earth or water users, she plans to build a bridge and quickly cross over. She sees Mako nearby and asks him to observe the enemies and make sure they don't make any weird movements. He rushes to the edge, knowing it'd be bad if they were ambushed. Little did he know that dark shadows covered his allies' faces. With a snap of her fingers, Sarah signals the others, who immediately proceed to capture the young man. Held tight in their arms, he demanded an explanation. Following everyone's opinion, she says they decided to kill him and make it look like an accident. As expected, being with a human who made a pact with a demon is dangerous. Moreover, every single person there feels nothing but hate for demons. With this, they mercilessly throw Mako over the cliff. They laughed as they watched him fall, certain that there was no surviving the enemies below. Looking with cold eyes, Sarah apologizes, saying it's the best choice she can make. Dropping fast, he remembers the time he met Reno, as he was betrayed in the exact same way. Reacting to the situation, the fallen angel appeared, telling him to lead the fall to her. With this, he's reminded that it's not the same, as he isn't alone anymore. Shadow chains burst out of his hands, stopping his descent and tethering him to the walls of the cliff. That said, he still can't climb up in that state. The monsters below are B-rankers, and he'll be killed if he slightly drops his guard. Fortunately, he and Reno are no longer the same, and should be able to overcome the challenge. Up top, the odd hunter from before hid, saying he had to move quickly. Mako demolished the enemies below, switching between weapons and working in complete sync with his partner. The number of demons drops significantly, and he has more than enough energy, as his mana output and stamina are much more controlled. Reacting fast to ambushes, he smiles in satisfaction, no longer having any difficulty against enemies of that level. While he continued to fend them off, the boy from before watched from the edge, mesmerized by his swift movements. Just then, the ground under him crumbled, and he found himself falling over the cliff. Tumbling down, he somehow manages to break the drop, but still comes crashing to the ground. He's alive and in pain, but it might not be for much longer, as demons surrounded quickly. They attacked without hesitation, and he screamed while running away. However, he's soon cornered, and can do nothing but beg for mercy. Just then, Mako came to his rescue, slicing the demons in half. They finally see each other's face, and he wonders who the young hunter is. Safe from the demons, the hunter thanks Mako for coming to his rescue. He introduces himself as Yuki, and it's recognized as the name of the youngest person who became a hunter. He mistakenly says that he didn't expect them to be a girl, but quickly gets corrected. Due to his looks, even Reno is unable to believe it. Fortunately, her partner corrects her, saying it sometimes happens. Moving on, Mako recalls that he called his name and wonders how he knows him. The young one has known before he even made a contract. Back then, he watched him train relentlessly, no matter what the situation. He's embarrassed to hear that someone actually looked up to him all this time. Worrying after he was thrown over the cliff, he accidentally fell while watching. Mako asks him to join them, saying it must be fate somehow. The young one gladly accepts his hand, and they band together. A while later, the hunter chains a bunch of demons up and cuts the last batch of enemies down. Yuki can't help but gasp in awe, mesmerized by their movements. Meanwhile, the shadow hunter is satisfied and starts to be more confident in his ability. The boy fawns over how he fought alone and asks what he has to do to be as strong. Rina reveals that they conquered dungeons while holding hands. Trying to clarify the easily misconstrued statement, he explains that it was for their compatibility. He then wonders what divine spirit the newcomer has. Suddenly conscious, Yuki says its name is Kafka, an explosion spirit. It's completely different from their expectations given his meek image. He wanted to help since earlier, but he was afraid of making a mistake and dragging them down. Some time before, he used his abilities on a mission, but nearly killed his comrades by accident. Even small movements made them worry, and they cast him away in anger. He shudders at the memory, and Mako apologizes for making him remember the pain. Kafka lingers around its partner, seemingly comforting him. Trauma caused by using one's skill is not one easy to overcome. The older hunter comforts him, saying he must have been doing his best all this time. In the end, he promises that his efforts won't betray him. Moreover, just wanting to help his comrades is enough of a sentiment for him. Never having heard such words before, his respect for his idol only grows. With newfound determination, he wipes his tears away and thanks Mako. Now he vows to pay him back and be his strength somehow. Relieved to have another person by his side, they proceeded forward. 10 hours after entering the dungeon, the hunters reached the top of the mountain, where they were locked in an intense battle with the boss. Working together, they finish the preparations and rush to hide behind Sarah. It charges at her, and with her high-ranking spirit, she calls upon her power. Jets of water shot from above, impaling the powerful enemy and ending its life altogether. Just like that, the dungeon is successfully conquered, and everyone cheers her on. With the subjugation complete, she turns to check if anyone was injured. Suddenly, dark magic appeared from above. The violent mana shook them to the core, before settling on a spot nearby. From the black portal, a sinister presence stepped out. Imagine entered the dungeon, complaining about the mana needed to get there. Realizing what it was, the hunters were on high alert.